gets tricky, and sometimes it is. Another great way to begin an abstract, and it's an easy way to begin that I think is foolproof, I think it's very powerful, and it makes it easy to read. And that's by starting by saying, our overall goal. What's the goal of your research? So I'm using the same example. Our overall goal is to improve the sensitivity of mammography by developing this new, I beg your pardon, contour-based algorithm for more precise identification of microcalcification clusters. So our overall goal, always an easy way to start. Think about what it is you're proposing to do. Our overall goal is to do what? So either of these ways, good way to start an abstract. For those of you who are looking at a K award, you don't get any more lines of space in terms of writing a K award. You only get your 30 lines, but you must state that this is a K award, and we don't just say this is a K award. This is the appropriate language to include. So in addition to all the other requirements, we start, and again, I made this up, I'm not an MD, but I gave myself a credential here so that I could give you an example. This is the language you would be using. The candidate, Wendy, and it can sound so odd, by the way, when you're doing this, you're writing in the third person, and it's very, very odd, but it sounds even more odd, if you will, to say, I am proposing, which just sounds even odder. So I tend to write it in this way. The candidate, Wendy Sanders, is an assistant professor of internal medicine. Her long-term goal is to become an independent investigator. Every one of you who are writing a K, you want to have that sentence in your abstract. Her goal is to become an independent investigator, carrying out whatever type of research in such and such area. To achieve this goal, she has developed this mentored research career development plan that includes training and independent research based on that training. Use this as a model. Okay, that's why I included it. So writing this project description, think like a reviewer, and I wanted to show you, and it's funny, it's so hard to reflect what it's like in the electronic world, so I use this picture of what it looks like for a reviewer who's reviewing a paper-based application. And when you see someone sitting there with this pile of applications, the things that you want to think about, the reason why I show you that slide is because what I really want you to think about is how can you make your grant jump out of that pile? How do you do that? And I think you do it in a couple of ways. Again, for those of you who come up with a hypothesis, even if it's descriptive research, I really want to, definitely want to encourage you to think about a hypothesis. Why? Our reviewers tend to gravitate to it. So a central, strong, interesting underlying hypothesis. The novel features, the need for your project. This project is needed because the impact of this project would be the following. So don't be coy or shy with your language here. And it can be a difficult thing to do, but it's terribly important that you convey this to your reviewers. The significance of this research would be as follows. So make sure that that's what you emphasize. And again, even though there are 5 different review criteria, as we'll see in our summary of today's workshop when we look at the NIH system of peer review, there are 5, but they're not all equal. And when it comes to the abstract, there's no question in my mind that of the 5 review criteria, the one we're looking at, the major review criteria is significance. So tell your reviewers, what is the significance of this research? And remember, significance on the field, not just in terms of your own research. Impact on the field, public health impact. So one caveat about the directions for the project description, when you read through the directions, you'll see that there's a sentence there that says, avoid summaries of past accomplishments, avoid the use of the first person. You know what? When you write an abstract, it's almost impossible to avoid one sentence stating what you have done leading up to what you're proposing. I always, I have a sentence in there which says something about this research is based on one sentence, so I wouldn't belabor it, but don't think that you're making a mistake if you disregard that one sentence in the guidelines. really wanted to use this slide to make a point. When you look at this cartoon here of these scientists speaking in jargon, that's what I don't want you to do. And we all have jargon. I don't care what field we're in. It's funny, when I was reading a couple of examples of project summaries, and some of you used, God, there was an abbreviation, what was it? For community-based participatory research. And I looked at those initials and I thought, wow, what's that? So, and I know it never would, I think it was yours to me, so I know it never would have occurred to you. It's obvious to you what it is. So the thing I want you to remember is that we all speak in jargon about our own research, and we're so used to it. And it doesn't even occur to us that it is indeed jargon. The summary must be readable. It must be readable and comprehensible to people outside our own particular area, okay? So, most common mistakes in the summary. Remember I said before how confusing it is when you see the aims and and the abstract. They look so similar. So oftentimes investigators will think, well, you know, these two pieces look so similar. I know what I'll do. I just won't include the aims in my abstract because I only have those 30 lines of text. That's not a lot of space. They're going to see the aims in a minute anyway on the next page. I'll leave them out. No, 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 no. We're going to include them. We're going to include the aims. It's a major mistake not to at least summarize the aims in the abstract. Then sometimes people will think, well, I want this to be interesting for my reviewers. I know what I'll do. I'll change the wording of the aims. I'll give the, you know, so that my reviewer doesn't get bored. So I'll give them different wording in my aims and in my abstract. Again, it's understandable why people do this, but it leads your reviewer to be confused because if you look at one set of aims in the abstract and different wording in the aims, you're sitting there as a reviewer saying, well, which one of these is this investigator going to carry out? The aims here or the aims here? You can condense them, but the aims do appropriately belong in the aims and in the abstract, even though it's going to look like overlap to you. That is correct. And again, we talked about making it too technical. And the biggie, the hard one, failure to generate excitement. And that is the biggest problem with the summary. Because remember, everybody's reading this, everybody's voting. This is where, and I hate to use the word sell your application, it sounds crass and very unscientific, but it's the word I'm going to use. When I say failure to generate excitement, I want to use that same example I went back to before. Failure to generate excitement. Let's look at this one. Breast cancer is the most common cancer among American women after non-melanoma skin cancer. Over the past 50 years, the number of women diagnosed with the disease has increased every year. Da 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 da. And you think, well, gee, what's wrong with that? Are you just so callous from your years in the academic world that this doesn't excite you? The reason it doesn't excite us is because, again, what you were suggesting before, that's not what this is about. This is background information. We want to cut to the chase. We want to get our reviewers excited. So we're always going to start with, how will our research improve health? That's what's exciting to our reviewers. And I don't care what it is that you're doing a grant about. Don't care what it is, that if it's going to the NIH has one mission, to improve the health of all people living in the United States. And that mission should actually, should be very helpful for the types of research that now I'm beginning to understand that the people in this room are interested in. Because all of you really are looking at interesting and unusual health issues that certainly impact the health of Native Hawaiians, Native population. Some of you are looking at the Alaskan population. These are underrepresented populations. This is very much on the nation's health agenda. Talk about it discreetly and specifically in that abstract. Among Native Hawaiians, a major problem has been the following: a disparity in health outcomes in the Native Hawaiian population as compared to other American populations is the following. Very specific language. Does that make sense to everyone? This is so important. Generate excitement, as I said, right for the reviewer, and I wanted to show you a picture